dumbass, anything that you wear is going to be like 3 times the average Cuban salary. It's a very poor island. We've kept it poor. That's the point. We've literally destroyed their economy through economic terrorism. It's fucking ridiculous. You could make that argument for every single thing that every single person that is like visiting the island is wearing. It's so fucking stupid. I told you. Oh, wow. It's heating up. It's heating up. The Politico playbook tossed my name in the ring. And it said, first in playbook, third way slams Piker. Hasan Piker's plan to stump for Michigan Democratic Senate candidate Abdul El Sayed is first reported in playbook this morning. Has some centrist Democrats up in arms. Playbook's Adam Wren reports. It is morally repugnant and strategically self-defeating for Democrats like Abdul El Sayed and members of Congress like Summer Lee to cozy up to anti-Semitic extremists like Hasan Piker. Third way President Jonathan Cowan told Playbook in a statement, anyone eager to campaign with Hasan Piker is at best comfortable overlooking his anti-Semitic and anti-American extremism and at worst endorsing it, Cowan continued. After voters in critical battlegrounds like Michigan believed in 2024 the Democrats were the more radical party, embracing extreme bigots like Piker, who for starters called religious Jews inbred, and said, by the way, I love that this quote has like taken a life of its here. Yeah, it's taken a totally separate life of its own. It was, I said the fucking the settler terrorists that were literally the settler terrorists that were denying aid, like that were destroying aid at the point of delivery, were inbred, which, you know, it's a fucking common.
I don't think that's you know, it's.
Hold on. Oh, this is the one. Boom.
I'll give you the pass on that one.
No, I mean, I call fucking Republicans inbred all the time.
No,
what do you mean? Like, what am I
they're
supposed
fucking
to not...
psychos. They're acting like
I'm
freaks.
sorry.
Like, sorry, you're not doing it because they're fucking religious Jews. You're doing it because they're psychopaths.
Yeah, like I don't have any. I have much love for Neto Ricarda and like all the.
Also, whoa, hold on. There's a really great whopper that you didn't get to yet in that paragraph.
I didn't get to. Like clockwork all over the timeline. Yeah, Trey Easton was mad too.
Trey Easton.
Yeah. Like these
Trey Easton, who has like
no motion ass.
I was about to say
Democratic consultant.
Trey Easton, who's like Mr. like loves.
He should be Trey Weston, dude.
He's just such a.
He should change his direction.
Well, he also just he loves to pop off about stuff that is just like very easy to come back. Like he was like, oh, we need to have like a common sense national security. We need to have all this, that, and the other. And then it's like, okay, let me look at what your employer has said about national security. And it's like, oh wait, you've been around for a year and a half, and you have no policy positions on this stuff. Like the only thing that you give a fuck about is like playing the centrist political game and dressing it up as being the only rational people in the room. Adam Gentleson, fraud watch. Trey Easton, fraud watch. No motion, no game. It's over. Just
They never attack him this much before he started to get more directly involved in Democratic policies. They've also been attacking AIPAC tracker all week. Incidentally, I see this as a sign that they're being effective. Yeah, they are. Noah's leaving. Noah's running away. Noah's angrily running away. He doesn't want to be associated. He doesn't want the blowback. Bullshit. He doesn't want blowback to be associated with dangerous anti-Semites. What is this? You replied to this tweet, but who the fuck are these guys? It's Michael Moynihan. He's such a bitch. I said, get off my dick, Michael. Holy shit. We get it. You're a fucking libertarian. Go do something about American empire, you state asset. He's just like, he fucking hates me. I know because he talked to Brace about me too. He literally is one of these fucking weirdos who just like constantly is like, oh, I'm actually a consistent principled libertarian. And as a consistent principled libertarian, my number one resentment is Hasan. It's fucking stupid. Glenn Greenwald defended you from that tweet. I know. Glenn Greenwald, the only libertarian. And even then, he just still fucking does this bullshit where it's like, yeah, there's reasonable criticism. Like what? Like what? That I'm fucking rich? Shut up. Yeah, I got drip, man. What the fuck is this argument? The only libertarian I respect is Matthew Petty. Well, actually, that's not true. I really like the Cato guys on the immigration stuff too. They've really popped off.
Yeah, I mean
they've been there. They've been there for a long time.
Well,
too.
They're like committed. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't. I worked with Michael briefly. I don't know him too well. I don't want to claim otherwise, but I think it was interesting that he used to do journalism and now he does this. Like, yeah. It's a career whose achievements speak for themselves.
One upside, oh yeah, Ryan has been pissed off as well. But what a lot of these guys don't understand is that like the Republicans actually actively yelling at me and yelling at Abdul El Sayed is not going to work. It's going to have the negative. It's going to work in the exact opposite, where it negatively polarizes the base, and it makes the base tune in to the candidate that they're attacking because they see it as like a fucking point of fear. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing that the Republicans are doing this. Of course, it's a little different when it's like centrist Democrats running along with these narratives as well. But yeah, Crystal Ball said Hasan derangement syndrome is out of control. Thankful that he and others made the choice to go to Cuba in an attempt to shine a light on the monstrous crimes of our government is committing in our names. People who are more concerned about a shirt or his hotel than the innocents we are murdering with our cruel blockade have completely lost their moral compass.
I think it's also just like everybody wants to talk about this because it's just a lot easier than talking about the actual like cruel inhumanity of the policy. And besides, that's boring. That's like, oh wait, people suffering, that's boring and gay. It's actually like,
No, it's
just silly.
We
It's
were talking
sad.
about this last night. It's like or this morning.
Michael Moynihan once got paid to go interview people about things that went on in their lives and the reality in which they inhabited, and now he like yaps about shit on Twitter all day. Like I don't know what to say. Waco's.
Hasan Piker, very popular political streamer who is an anti-Semitic streak. That's an understatement. Will be speaking at major political rallies in Michigan with a Senate candidate and member of Congress.
Oh, well, Gabby Deutsch is a stupid streak, so.
Yeah, Gabby Deutsch, Jewish insiders coming hard, dude. Every single.
You mean UAE insider?
Okay, dude, I can't. I disavow this guy. He's Jewish, and that's why I'm disavowing him because I'm an anti-Semite. I've realized that if I have you or Felix next to me, I'm always like half of those clip moments are
they're because one of us is here. Well, that was like when what was it? And then there was the time when Ethan kept calling me Felix or vice versa. I forget.
Yeah, this was the article. Opinion: Democrats are too cozy with Hasan Piker.
But again, it's like there's not like a. Like, all right, keep doing it. Like, I at this point, I say, like, as the person not the subject of all this, I say, bring it the fuck on. Mainly because it's like, okay, like, dig in on being on the losing side of like a 90-10 issue.
Yeah.
Across both
it's
parties.
Fucking unbelievable.
Like, you people are morons.
It's unbelievable. And they're doing it to someone who unironically spends a good deal of time. So much so that people are like, all right, bro, we get it. You know what I mean? Like, even Kyle Kalinske was like, dude, stop throat clearing every time you have to talk about Israel by explaining over and over again that you're not an anti-Semite, that you combat anti-Semitism. It's just like the person they're coming after is actively fucking advocating against anti-Semitism. It blows my fucking mind. These well-funded campaigns against you literally only have like 3 out of context quotes. Like all these freaks are banking on people just accepting what they say and not looking into it. Yeah, most people are not looking into it anyway. But the reality is, most people don't care because most people, when they hear that, they go, oh, this guy's an anti-Semite. Oh, you guys say that about every single person that's anti-Israel. That is the attitude, right?
Also, it's like really hard to take that allegation seriously when there are people who just like love going around and being like, oh, well, you're being very Jewish today or whatever. Like there are people out there who like do and say and conform to all of like the, they behave like anti-Semites. They sound like they wouldn't have been out of picture in the 1920s. It's just that actually, like the definition of anti-Semitism here is, as it has been, is like no, it's that you dislike Israel and the Israeli government.
Yeah, it's like Joe Walsh. And this is how Democrats lose Middle America. Yeah, dude, Middle America, famously in tune with the needs of Israel.
Also, like fucking Joe Walsh, famously in tune with anything. Like Tea Party politician turned never Trump has-been who like only exists on social media to comment on a political system that has completely passed him by. Good luck.
Yeah.
Cling to that relevancy raft.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is like kind of weird how this like went from like a few days ago I was like saying to you over text like just like it's not that big of it, like you don't have to like deal with this. And at that time I didn't think so because it was just like a bunch of people like being annoying on the internet. But because Twitter is the assignment editor for the mainstream media, because editors at all sorts of prestigious and credible publications have lost the capacity to think for themselves. They see a bunch of people chatting about this and they decide, well, you know what? We're going to take some of the people whom we pay full salaries to, and we're going to dedicate resources to finding out why exactly people are so mad that Hasan Piker wore a shirt to Cuba.
Yeah. So it starts out with Third Way slamming me, or it starts out with Adam Wren talking about how I'm stumping for Dr. Abdul Al-Sayed. It's a first. I didn't even realize, right? I didn't realize that was a first for me, because I've like leaned into candidates and worked alongside them with fairly regular frequency, from Zoran Mamdani to numerous others. And I guess I just have never really done like a campaign spot, right? So that was a first technically. Dr. Jihad on the campaign run. Anyone eager to campaign with Hasan Piker, Third Way's response is at best comfortable overlooking his anti-Semitic and anti-American extremism, and at worst endorsing it. Cowan continued, the guy who wrote the Wall Street Journal op-ed. After voters in critical battlegrounds like Michigan believed in 2024 that the Democrats were the more radical party, embracing extreme bigots like Piker, who for starters is called religious Jews inbred and said America deserved 9/11, is not only dangerous and wrong, but antithetical to the urgent work of winning over the middle and defeating Trumpism.
Now you get to the whopper.
Leaders of the center-left think tank in a recent Washington Post op-ed called Piker anti-American, anti-women, anti-Western, and anti-Semitic, and argued that Democrats have become too cozy with him. I've read that already on the article.
I think the center-left think tank is doing a little bit of water carrying for them, because I would love to know the number of registered Democrats in this country on a proportionate basis who would agree with like that assessment if presented with the information. I think that Third Way is like, their job is like, Third Way exists so that it can be described by political reporters as center left, even though the only thing left facing that those people probably do is like turning out of their driveway.
Yeah. El Sayed, the spokesperson, declined to comment. Third Way's lost the argument in the eyes of a lot of Democratic Party's base. Piker told Playbook, we can have a debate on how much influence they already had amongst the base in general, but they're losing their institutional relevance as well. Third Way has said they will spend $50 million to make sure the Democratic Party elects a combative centrist in 2028.
$50 million.
All this
who could use $50 million?
All this does is make like what?
Hasan, you know who could use $50 million?
What, me?
No, people at Cuba.
Yeah, I mean,
saying.
that's true.
Considering this has been their fucking attitude about you the last few days, why don't you take that $50 million and do something other than light it on fire in political advertisements and consultant fees and give it to people who need it? I thought that was the whole fucking line that those guys had.
I think they're trying to do to you what conservatives did to Fuentes in 2022 after the Trump dinner, but it obviously didn't work. Yeah, also, there's a major difference. I'm not a fucking anti-Semite, okay? I'm not like a hate monger. So you can try to present me out of context or like show, moments where I'm like exaggerating or, moments where I'm attempting a joke that you literally rob the context of and then make it seem like I'm sincerely saying certain things. But at the end of the day, there's a very big difference between someone like Nick Fuentes and someone like myself. I don't shelter you from my perspective. I tell you what my views are all the goddamn time. I'm an anti-Zionist. 400 like tweets. Surely they have clout with the Dems. It doesn't matter. These things add up. It shows up in people's fucking timelines. That's the reason why the New York Times wrote an entire article about the flotilla, and I couldn't believe it that the article was actually just about, the shirt I was wearing and shit. It was fucking ridiculous. Do you understand? Like, because as Noah also was pointing out, as someone who's been around the block and, worked at Vice and whatnot, he knows how these stories are written. Like, people who choose which direction they want to take with these articles are still looking at Twitter, and it's a right-wing shithole. And that actually does frame their perspective a little bit.
And I would add also that, like, it's really difficult when we now have like when we have this like contemporary flavor of right wing, Twitter shithole, whatever, and it collides with these specific issues on foreign policy, on the places where American media, the American political establishment, and the American people are, as categories, all pretty ignorant, and the capacity for nuance, the capacity to introduce a perspective that exists outside of the previously defined parameters of discourse or whatever, it's something that they naturally reject. And so it's a lot easier. It is simpler to have a conversation about your t-shirt than to actually weigh the evidence of the question of what is the impact of American policy on these people, and does that suggest something about what the political incentives might be for people in this country to do about it? And instead it becomes a referendum on the behavior of you, or, the fucking just a complete like a referendum on the behavior of the Cuban government, even though it's our policy that's the thing that you're trying to bring attention to in the first place.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I do take it one step further. Like, I think that as far as like governments go, like the Cuban government is nowhere near as repressive as like even Iran. And you know what my perspective is on Iran, especially with like our much more violent actions now.
I mean, but this is the comparison.
It's not even a thing.
Cuba's been at war for 60 years. They've been at war for 60 years.
They've been at war for 60 years, and even in spite of that, like their repression is like not even their repression. Like the way that they dealt with the protests took place. That's like a big point, right? It was like a first in Cuban history since the Cuban Revolution, where like a lot of people organized against the government and like protest the government, the SOS Cuba stuff. And like I was talking to journalists, like Cuban journalists that got arrested, and they were like, "Yeah, well, you know, we've been around the fucking world, and in our coverage, like even." The apprehensions that took place were marginal in comparison to like what the fucking American police does in terms of like dealing with, like people don't realize that our police force is infinitely more ruthless than a lot of these other countries. That's why it's so strange when they were like, oh, you got detained in China, you got arrested in China. I'm like, motherfucker, I've been shot at with rubber bullets by my own fucking police that I pay the salary of. What are you fucking talking about?
Also, like, I mean, one piece of it that drives me especially nuts on this level is that it's like, I don't know, like, has anybody been, I don't know about you, but I've been watching some of the news these last few months. And before the president of the United States unilaterally decided to, like, you know, try and set off World War III around the Persian Gulf, there was this really big story about unaccountable, bloated law enforcement agencies in the United States running around killing people, randomly detaining them like masked men, like a neo Gestapo. I'm sorry, I just don't have like.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like,
I don't mean to be like so totally whataboutish here, but it is like. There's a degree. It's a chauvinism. It's a chauvinism.
We have no leg to stand on. We have no room here to be like, wow, I can't believe it. It's like other countries are so repressive. And then what? Like what? That we have to fucking starve them to like solve this problem? Like it's fucking, all of it is ridiculous. I'm not entertaining it at all. The only difference is Cuba has less American style free political speech, which sure is a big difference, but it's not like Cuba is a tyrannical murder state. That
Correct. They do not have the same free political speech. And I would argue that like for the libs in particular who focus on that question, you know, it's like, all right, like does Ukraine have free speech right now? Does Ukraine have elections? You know, like when
they're under invasion.
They're literally at war. I would say Cuba should I think Cuba has a very plausible case to say that they're in the same position. You know, not obviously the exact same position, but they're in the same position in that they've been targeted for, you know, their government has been targeted for destruction for years and years and years on end.
Anyway, getting back to the other thing that we were talking about quickly and briefly. Obviously, like the hits keep rolling, but the Senate Republicans have come out and said anti-Semitic Abdul al-Sayed is campaigning with pro-Hamas influencer Hasan Piker in Michigan. So if Abdul al-Sayed is anti-Semitic, then it's a given that he's stomping with another anti-Semitic Hamas supporter, right? Like I mean, there's this you're kind of busting a nut too early, it seems. These extremist views should never be allowed near the U.S. Senate. Brother, you are the Senate Republicans.
Yeah, I'm gonna say,
calling someone on the Democratic Party side extremist is so funny when you are the Senate Republicans account. You know, we can see your other tweets, right? Yeah. Hasan Piker blames Israel for October 7 at Qatar's Web Summit. True. Okay. Yeah. Stand by that. I love that these guys also say like a very popular Twitch streamer. Like they always have to glaze me too, because most people in their audience don't know who the fuck I am. So they have to like, increase the danger here.
No. That's a different thing. That's because they've got to make this world where everybody's like, they need to say like, hey, listen, you know what's very popular? Anti-Semitism.
You are not on camera right now.
Oh, whoops. They're saying you want to be anti-Semitic. I just don't want to eat on camera. It feels unseemly. Anyway. They say you want to they say that, oh, he's a very popular Twitch streamer, all this stuff. And it's a way of like trying to normalize the idea that anti-Semitism is everywhere in American life and that they're active Jew haters who are visible everywhere and that they need to be like called out for that. You know, like it's in this particular way. And it's like, I don't think it's like, that's why I don't think that they're glazing you. I think the fact that they're talking about you is taken as evidence that you're somebody significant. Yeah. But it's that they want to convey this idea that there is like anti-Semitism, in every cupboard, under every bed, etc.
Yeah, they want
Jews to feel like their Jewish audience to feel scared. They want them to feel scared, and that there is an active threat to Jewish lives in America that, like, as we know, largely doesn't come from anybody who holds like identifiably left-wing politics. It does really typically come from the other end, to the extent that it exists.
Just make fucking drones. Leftist streamer Hasan Piker gives audience to suicide bombers in his audience, gives advice. This article definitely was written. This headline.
Oh, that's Breitbart.
Yeah.
I recognize that. That's the Breitbart style guide sticks out.
They're saying, I have an audience of suicide bombers. The New Yorker trashed for inviting pro 9/11 radical Hasan Piker, who called Israelis inbred to speak at festival. Cheerleading for terrorism. Twitch star called for new 9/11. Dismissed horror of October 7th. Called for new 9/11. Lefty influencer Hasan Piker kicked off Twitch after sick comments about DC Jewish museum shooting. Remember,
it wasn't your comments. It was just because we were talking about you were showing the manifesto.
Yeah, but okay. I also don't have suicide bombers in my audience, at least to my knowledge. And I've never called for a 9/11 too. You know,
it's true. You know what? I don't think that there are many suicide bombers in your audience.
FDD guy writes for the Real Daily Wire. The woke circus has Hasan Piker coping.
Check out my first piece for Real Daily Wire. Is like one of that's like a
these guys are falling off the map.
Like they say, like the saddest short story ever written is baby shoes never worn.
Yeah,
like one of the worst threats that you can open a sentence with is my first blog for the Daily Wire. Folks is here.
Yeah. Piker stated that America deserved 9/11. El-Sad just blamed the Islamist synagogue attack in his state on Israel and called doing so leadership. I don't even know what Abdul El-Sad said about the synagogue attack, but I highly doubt that he was like,
no, of course, but
no person is like going to straight up. I mean, even if there is an association that like every synagogue has with the fucking state of Israel, and it's like this unholy association that absolutely makes normies fucking go crazy in general, because they just see transparently when you're like plastering the Israeli flag everywhere and saying like we're doing IDF donations.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. You think that Jews have something to do with Israel? Excuse me while I take off my full Israeli flag tracksuit that I have while I'm running around in a it's just so disingenuous.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing is like the reason I say it's disingenuous is because I do actually think that they are aware that like this is like overheated rhetoric, let's say, but they believe that the only way that they can triumph is if they're able to like get one over on people by convincing them that there is this, again, like this insane deep, there is this deep threat from people like Hasan Piker teaming up with Abdul El-Sayed.
In any case, everyone's losing their fucking minds over this. Yeah, why is he still here and not deported? He's a terrorist. But
deported back to the place of your birth, New Jersey.
Yeah. New Democrats likely 2028 nominee President Gavin Newsom to sit for an interview with Muslim streamer who recently taught his viewers how to make suicide drones. Gavin Newsom is doing a podcast with Hasan Piker on the Hunt, who recently taught people how to make suicide drones with his Twitch live stream. FBI Director Kash Patel, Gavin Newsom is amplifying a violent Turkish Muslim. How is this not a violation of U.S. statutes prohibiting material support for terrorism? It's so funny because the clip literally doesn't say what they think it says. Have you seen this?
No, but I'm sorry.
Literally being
Laura Loomer being
Canary Mission. This was where it came from.
All the better. It's crazy.
What are these fucking at Laura Loomer watermark Popstanox on the corner? What the fuck's going on?
It's like a joke that Tom from Chapo would do.
Yeah, it's just like. It's so funny that these guys are all like, Hasan is teaching his audience of suicide bombers how to do suicide bombings, when it's me literally saying commercial drones have rendered suicide bombing a relic of the past. It makes no sense. When I was talking about like the Taliban, saying that they, to the Pakistani government, like, oh, you have nukes, but we have suicide bombers. I was like, bro, you're just LARPing at that point. You know what I mean? Like, you could just go and purchase commercial drones, and for the price of like $11,000. Like, there is like shit that you can find on TikTok is crazy.
It's a new epoch we're in. Like, there was that guy who's the clip. I hadn't seen this channel before, but the one Scahill was on. What's his face? Deep Dive. Daniel Davis.
Oh, Daniel. Yeah.
And it was like the logo for his whole channel is a quadcopter.
Yeah.
Like it's not. Like I shocked that Canary Mission and Laura Loomer, such upstanding citizens, would misconstrue what you were saying.
Yeah. In any case, it's really funny that, you know, they're chirping, but it's just not, it's utterly irrelevant noise, background noise. And I think most people understand that this is just like another line of attack because I don't represent like Israel first politics. And that's precisely what it is, right? Because like, that's just how these guys operate. It's like, oh, if you're not doing Israel first politics, like then you're an anti-Semite. You're an anti-Semite. You're a danger. You're an ever-present danger, and you need to be stopped. These same people who make people jokes, yeah, exactly. Anyway, whatever. The Canary Mission shit, I'm not even going to get into. It doesn't matter. It's old news. But it is funny that there is like now a coordinated attack with all the Never Trump Republicans and also all of the third way liberals and the entirety of the right is just like losing their fucking mind.
There is one thing that's worth actually emphasizing about this, which is like, all right, why is like the third way think tank, which plans to spend $50 million, so a deeply well-resourced organization, you know, flush with like, you know, like billionaire money, whatever. Joe Walsh, like, why are they going after you for this? Whether it's the campaigning with Syed or the Cuba stuff, whatever. And I think on some level, part of it is just that now they're like they can't actually argue these things on the idea level anymore. They can't try and put forward like a program that says, well, here's like what an alternative, better perspective should be. So they can only look for avatars of the politics that they're opposed to and do everything they can to delegitimize those avatars by any other means. To say that they're actually, you know, unserious, you know, they support extremism, that they foster a certain kind of hatred. And they have to do all that because, again, now more than ever, more than any other time in my life, particularly when it comes to matters related to Israel, on any other issue, there's never been anything like this where they just can't talk about the issue itself. It has to be anything else.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's crazy because everyone is talking about it. That's why the ground has shifted under them and they are completely unable to address that reality. So they think they can do business as usual, like smears and outrage manufacturing.
Yeah.
But the ground has shifted on that issue as well. Like the whole, oh, look at this out of context clip. This guy needs to be canceled. Like it doesn't work anymore in general for every other issue. Not just, especially for this one, because it's so commonly deployed that people are just like, you say that about everybody. But it's very obvious that like both the woke scolding and the cancel culture narratives don't work, even though the Republicans are trying to actively deploy it. And in particular on the Israel issue, when you do that, everyone knows exactly what's up. I personally don't enjoy it, I will say, you know, sitting in my position. I don't like that, you know, from Andrew Cuomo's failed mayoral campaign to you know, all these other fucking people, like these are Israeli agents, right? Like these are organs of propaganda for the Israeli state.
And like
they get subsidies from the Israeli
and they try to hide, or if they're not like directly by the Israeli state, like Canary Mission investigative journalists have found, like it's gotten a bunch of money from the Milsteins, and like they, you know, again, many of the influential billionaires and others who fund pro-Israel organizations and are obviously like working in some measure with the Israeli government. Like these are, they operate from the shadows because they know what they do is so silly and dark and unjustifiable on its own terms. And in a civilized country, would probably be against the law.
Yeah, it's unbelievable that, you know, I'm in the crosses of a fucking very powerful foreign state that has outsized influence on American domestic affairs and certainly American foreign policy. But I do think that Abdul al-Sayed's biggest issue right now is his lack of name recognition internally in Michigan. And I think this kind of like unlimited attack against them is going to boost his profile. It's like perfect. It's a perfect way to make him more prominent. So I think this is going to be good overall. When all of these fucking losers are chirping about Abdul al-Sayed, people are going to be like, yeah, there it is. No, it's not because you're a threat, bro. You're the only guy. I'm not. I'm just
I mean, also in the case of Canary Mission, like Canary Mission goes after many people who are just, you know, like if you were a college student who was a member of your SJP chapter, you know, at Tufts in 2015 or something, and now you're a social worker or something, congratulations. You may also have a page on Canary Mission that smears you as an anti-Semite and a Jew hater. The difference is just that obviously like Hasan is the is somebody with a much larger individual profile than them, but they go after everybody. They do not discriminate. I do also think that there is now too, again, like we were saying, because they can't talk about the issue and they have to argue about literally everything else. They're just going to lean harder and harder on this, and they're going to raise the salience of the issue in the worst possible way. I don't know. I agree with you that I think that they're just making their situation worse if this is their strategy. Unless they successfully work the refs, because that's perhaps one of the other goals here.
No, they're working the referees. They're actively trying to get, this kind of stuff will cause maybe not Abdul, but other established higher profile left flank candidates to shy away from openly associating with me because they don't want the headache. And yes, of course, I'm talking about Zoran or AOC. I don't think Bernie gives a shit necessarily. He's fucking 800 years old. He doesn't care. He has his own opinions. I have my own opinions. We have some disagreements, but it doesn't matter. There's a mutual respect there. But ultimately, they can't actually change the attitude of the base. They can't do that. They've lost that, right? But what they can do is try to get Democrats to not associate with someone who is a fairly large megaphone for the attitude of the base, and therefore make it seem, at least in the political class, as though this is still unacceptable. This line of communication is unacceptable, which is, in my opinion, abso-fucking-lutely a mistake for the Democrats. I don't give a shit if Democratic Party politicians don't want to associate with me. I don't give a shit about that at all. I know a lot of people really care about that, especially these fucking loser ass Democratic Party mouthpiece, DNC mouthpiece influencers, that all they care about is access. I have the platform, and unironically, it's not necessarily great content when I'm doing these sorts of interviews. It's not great content for me at all. It's not what I like doing. It's not what I'm good at particularly. I do it because I want to help out these people. And even if I never did another interview with another candidate, or never actually associated with another candidate going forward from this point on, it wouldn't change anything from my perspective. The entire GOP party is gross. Who identifies GOP? They have an internal processing issues.
Oh, you're talking shit about Abraham Lincoln? Really?
Yeah.
Okay, go off.
The smears aren't working with Zoran either. Yeah, I mean, it's not, of course.
Yeah, I actually think that this is Zoran is kind of a good way of illustrating this, where it's this isn't about glazing Zoran, but it's about how if you occupy a certain kind of lane, which is to say that you don't really, you don't really give in all that much, you still you still have dinner with Mahmoud Khalil and so forth, and you still represent that your position on the issue, your positions on this issue have not really changed.
It doesn't work on Plattner either.
Exactly, it doesn't work, and so they're now they're running scared, and that's part of why this is, by the way, this is the same reason, by the way, they don't know how to hit. They really have no idea how to hit a Carlson or Fuentes, because it's the same problem.
This is disgusting. Matt Bennett, Third Way Matt. This is disgusting. Third Way Matt getting retweeted by Reagan Battalion. I mean, that's it. That's all you need to see.
Yeah, center left.
Yeah, this kind of center left shit slingers, dude. Oh my God. I think if Democrats are smart, which they're not, many of them are not, unfortunately. Many of them are very biased, right? Many of them are also totally invested in what Trump is doing in Iran. But if Democrats actually want to win, this is not even about fucking embracing someone like myself. I don't give a shit. I've said that already. It's worse for my quote unquote brand if I don't really necessarily care about that sort of thing. But if it's worse for my brand that I associate with Democrats and vice versa. And the thing is, if Democrats don't lean in and lead on the anti-Israel issue, they are going to lose the conversation to grifters on the right who will take on that mantle.
Yeah.
Ross Barker says, I had a very good conversation with a very prominent right-wing person recently. Won't say who it is, but it was for a book I'm doing. And he said, flat out, conservatives who do not know how to hit Zoran Mamdani, they're outflanked the way Trump used to outflank the left.
I think that's right. I think that
they don't know. Because he's doing the
Trump supported the Iraq war. Trump was we need 1 million dead Iraqis. And then he's 10 years later, he's actually, we went into Iraq. It was an awful mistake, and it worked for him. It worked. It didn't matter that he was lying. Partly because it just doesn't matter.
Sarah Gallagher from the NRSC, the Senate Republicans, meet Hasan Piker, the pro-Hamas influencer Abdul Said is partnering with Michigan. Hasan doesn't have an issue with Hezbollah. Doesn't matter if Hamas raped Israeli women because the Palestinian resistance is not perfect. Like, it's fucking bullshit. It's like I said, that it doesn't make genocide appropriate or acceptable. Praise for the brave terrorists who wounded Representative Dan Crenshaw. Yeah, they're hitting every angle as of late with like both the Cuba stuff and reheating the same old nachos about fucking how I'm a terrifying figure that Democrats shouldn't associate with. I think Democrats are fucking stupid if they don't. I don't necessarily give a shit one way or another, but even if they don't associate with me necessarily, they should still embody this message, okay? This is where the base is, okay? This is where the fucking base is. Sure, they can point to like some of the more radical sounding narratives that they can like clip out of context or whatever the fuck, right? Not starting drama on Blue Sky. Republican Joe Walsh mentioned you were bad, of course, and Dems need to be more moderate. Yeah, these guys are fucking infiltrators, okay? I'm going to repeat my, take over and over again. But these people are infiltrators. They do not have the best interest. They do not have your best interest in mind. They are infiltrators in the Democratic Party. That's it. And they've been able to slowly but surely pick apart the institutions, demanding more moderation for a fucking mythical base of support that does not fucking exist. And that is precisely the reason why Kamala Harris lost. They have so successfully infiltrated the Democratic Party, and the Democrats were totally willing to get this fifth column style infiltration, ironically enough. Next time Democrats pick their latest radical spokesperson, they should do their homework. The guy urged his followers to kill me and celebrated Charlie Kirk's murder. Is it really who Dems want representing them? Rick Scott crying again. Democrats did do their homework. They do want to kill you like they killed Charlie Kirk. They want to assassinate President Trump. These guys are fucking hallucinating. They're such psychopaths. All they're doing here is elevating. Yeah, when did you celebrate? I didn't, but they're lying. Who gives a fuck? They lie all the time. No clue how the Jeb Bush operative got so popular with Liz, even after he tried to rat fuck Zoran. I mean, because the thing is, these guys also kind of like it. They kind of like it. That's the whole point. Fox News was talking about it yesterday. Yeah, but it was Buttfeld, so it's like irrelevant. No motion. Hasan Piker, very popular political streamer who also has an anti-Semitic streak. That's an understatement. We'll be speaking at major political rallies in Michigan with a Senate candidate and a member of Congress. This is how Dems lose middle America. This is how they lose everyday Americans, by embracing a dictator-loving, communist-embracing, America-hating, Jew-hating anti-Semite like Hasan Piker. Democrats have allowed the party to be subsumed by Lincoln Project types. They want the Reagan Republican Party versus the Trump's Republican Party, and the Dems are more than happy to let it happen. Yeah, it's very, very frustrating. It's very frustrating to watch it unfold. But yeah, there is a coordinated Zionist and right-wing push to attack Hasan this morning. And it's true, and it's coming specifically because of the political reporting, because this is what they tune into. Greg Gutfeld's meltdown about you was pretty funny. Yeah, that's the Cuba stuff. That was the Cuba stuff, which Greg Buttfeld also leaned into. Cuba. Commie Club Med, the 5-star revolution. Like, I don't think these people understand. This wasn't like a fucking tropical getaway in an island. We were there for a very specific purpose. And obviously they understand what that specific goal was because they're actively choosing to undermine it, right?
Sunglasses. Why didn't these activists invite Cubans to stay in their hotel for the night? I'm sure a few did, but only after requesting hookers in Spanish.
Oh, gross.
You want a glimpse of a Yankee douchebag? Here's one.
Tourism is the lifeline for the Cuban economy as it stands currently. The government has very limited resources, and the American government makes it illegal for Americans to stay wherever they want when they're in Cuba. They have to stay in what they've declared as 5-star hotels. In comparison to the situation on the island, it's prosperity pretty much, and experiencing that dichotomy is like definitely me up. Definitely.
No. Now, nothing he said is true.
That's insane. I love that. In most instances, it just doesn't even fucking matter. Like, what the words that are coming out of my mouth doesn't matter at all. Everything I said is correct. Everything I said is true. They'll just simply say, oh, you could stay at an Airbnb. How are you going to put 600 people in an Airbnb when the island doesn't even have fucking a reliable energy grid? There aren't 600 different Airbnbs that you can assign for 600 people that are coming from all around the fucking world. There aren't that many Airbnbs. It's so stupid.
But we got to replay that last part.
Experiencing that dichotomy is like definitely me up. Definitely.
You couldn't have done that better if you scripted it. I bet he has a Grey Poupon suppository.
Like, I don't understand. I'm literally not even in the hotel here, for the record. I'm at a friend's house. This was a local's home that I'm in. Okay. And not only that, but like, yeah, Ryan Grimm made me a fucking coffee. Are they saying it's because I'm drinking coffee like a gay guy? Like, what the fuck is this? Yeah, it's a tiny cup, man. I'm a massive guy. It's a Cuban coffee. What the fuck's the problem? This reminds me of enjoy your fancy burger, Mr. President. Yeah.
Up his butthole. By the way, his glasses cost $1,400.
Yeah, broke boy. What's up? Yeah, I got swag, bitch. What are you going to do about it? Suck my dick.
10 times the average Cuban salary and 4 times what I pay my right.
Dumbass, anything that you wear is going to be like 3 times the average Cuban salary. It's a very poor island. We've kept it poor. That's the point. We've literally destroyed their economy through economic terrorism. It's fucking ridiculous. You can make that argument for every single thing that every single person that is like visiting the island is wearing. It's so fucking stupid.
Of course, they're also meeting with Communist Party officials because nothing screams grassroots rebellion like schmoozing with the government militants. I can't wait for the Yelp review. Not for the hotel, but for the government. 5 stars, very attentive dictatorship, great gulags, chilled shrimp. Could have been colder. But that's the left. They don't want to live under socialism. They just want to visit. Fly in, take pics, and leave before the lions, or in this case, reality, eats them. Hell, if they stayed longer, they'd find out that in Cuba, vegan means we can't afford meat.
Yeah, they're so gross, too. Like, the way they talk about the Cubans, the way they talk about these wonderful fucking people. Like, there is like this very clear, like, they're primal animals. They're gonna fucking eat them alive. They make it seem like the Cubans that we were connecting with, the Cubans that we were, like, hanging out with, were all, like, primal animals. Like, they're all... oh, just so angry. They're so angry that these disgusting Americans are running around. It's fucking gross. And a lot of people don't even see that. Like, a lot of people don't even comprehend that is the argument, the narrative that they're presenting is that, like, they're all savages. Nasty as fuck. They don't even, like, they literally deny personhood to the average Cuban person. They make it seem like if Cubans are participating in like a government funded festival or like a government run festival that like Kneecap is performing at for free, they say, oh, they duped them. They bribe them with cookies. It's nasty. You think these people don't experience joy in spite of the fucking conditions they're subjected to, you fucking animal?
Fact is, Cuba's been struggling with power and basic services for decades. You know, the stuff that happens when the government controls everything and produces nothing. But these activists can't admit that. So instead, they play Che at the Four Seasons.
Yeah, they couldn't spin this narrative for your China trip, which was actually a tourist trip. But when you deliver humanitarian aid to the country, they put an embargo, they have to give the spin. Exactly. When I visited China, that was literally just a tourist trip. There was no other like humanitarian aid component. Obviously, it'd be ridiculous to deliver humanitarian aid to China. China should deliver humanitarian aid to us. Is it a good thing that they're covering you? This is the only time they're talking about Cuba? No, I think that's cope. There are a lot of kind-hearted people that think, you know, that this is somehow good. I think that's cope, man. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I think we have to reframe the narrative. I think we have to reframe the message here. I'm not gonna lie. Like, they are very actively trying to dilute. It's not all publicity is good publicity. They're very clearly aware that the goal of this humanitarian aid mission was not only to deliver humanitarian aid in person, which is one of the only ways that you can do that, by the way, but also on top of that, to bring awareness of the conditions that Cubans were facing. And instead of having that conversation, they're actively trying to have a different one, dramatizing the incident. I think they very clearly recognize that they're about to lose the narrative war once again. Especially considering that, like, you can freely travel to Cuba and see for yourself what we've done to the people there. And they don't want another Gaza on their hands, you know? They don't want they want another Gaza. They are creating the conditions for another Gaza, but they don't want the perspective to change. They don't want people's perception of our involvement in Cuba to change from like, oh, this is just like not a real sanctions regime at all or anything like that. But it's just... simply a byproduct of like the dangers of communism, a warning sign. You didn't play your monologue about the doctors that can't get supplies for a reason. Of course, that's the whole point. That's the entire point. It's just every moment that you're having a conversation about like how silly, how stupid this humanitarian aid mission was. It's a tropical jungle trip. It's a med spa trip. It's not. It fucking was not at all.
And they're so stupid, they convince themselves they're helping, but they aren't convincing anyone else, especially the Cubans.
Don't let the loser make you angry. Use your butt-felt jokes. The coverage is not good. It's destructive and relentless. They know this expedition can increase your revolutionary profile even more. I genuinely don't think they care about the flotilla. They ignored all the others. I'm like a fucking magnet for this kind of nonsense, unfortunately, because I have like such an active base of like psychotic haters that are constantly feeding like easy dunks. What is this? The New York Times PR department replied to me, there's no way to defend the ridiculous piece about Hasan, which somehow required 3 reporters so they point the coverage of political turmoil and economic crisis over 7 decades. The Times has reported on political turmoil and economic crisis in Cuba for 7 decades. This is one of the hundreds of stories from Cuba published this month. If you'd like to read more about U.S. policy, the denial of fuel and hardships, we covered it in detail. The question for the Times is, why they're writing about a leftist streamer's choice of hotel, which incidentally wasn't his choice. He was a part of a delegation that booked one of the few allowed hotels that could accommodate a large group rather than a U.S. politician's silence. The PR department points out the other coverage of Cuba's crisis because they cannot answer my criticism and explain why they buried the lead and focused on something inconsequential and irrelevant. I had to postpone a surgery in Cuba for several years because we lacked the antiseptic medication to clean hospital beds that had staphylococcus. Like staph infection? Is that what it is? The bloqueos just sucks. Did they add your comments to that article? Yeah, but it was a fucking totally abbreviated version of it, which it's understandable. They're not going to put the whole thing in there. That makes, I mean, it was very wordy and very long. Obviously, they're not going to do that, but where is it? I mean, it said, yeah, here's a full quote for the New York Times piece on the Cuban aid mission. Obviously, it was too long for the piece, but I wanted you to see it. This is what they took away from it. Mr. Priker said in a statement that the attacks were meant to serve as a distraction for the work of activists and politicians to show how the U.S. government's treatment of Cuba had asphyxiated the island and to downplay how the Trump administration was engaging in yet another unjustifiable regime change effort in Cuba. My quote, on the other hand, was, deeply cynical people have made it their lives' work to sit around at the comfort of their homes and undermine the stated purpose of sending humanitarian aid while bringing awareness to the blockade that has caused tremendous torment to the Cuban people, who are some of the bravest and most resilient people I've ever had the honor of meeting. They framed every collaborative action with the Cuban people from an outright evil framework. All of this advances the Trump administration's goals of engaging in yet another unjustifiable regime change effort. We have asphyxiated this island with the hopes of ending its unlimited potential through a sequence of bureaucratic sanctions designed with the sinister purpose of remaining invisible for plausible deniability and to shift the blame back to redistributive policies. My goal was to investigate the hidden ways in which sanctions impact the daily lives of Cubans beyond the oil blockade that started with secondary sanctions in 2019 and reached this total blockade status recently. The things I learned from speaking to doctors, engineers, and ordinary Cubans shocked me to my core. I believe the goal of those who choose to belittle the work of the activists and politicians is to serve as a distraction in an effort to defend our government's responsibility and the collective punishment Cubans are experiencing.